Radio Motorsport fans, grassroots through to F1. This is the Trackside Lounge. I'm Nik Brown. With me are the legendary Hooncorps, Mike and Nathan Howe, both drivers, organisers, and in Nathan's case, a master of sim racing. But more on that later. Well, a lot of stuff since we were last here, guys, like last week.
Mate, it's been huge. It's covered all sorts of spectrums, hasn't it?
Yeah, the reception's actually been pretty good because, you know, we just sort of started doing this as a bit of fun and sort of test the waters. And, yeah, the reception's been nothing short of titanic, to be fair.
Now, one of the things we talked about last week was the fact that we like grassroots motorsport and getting people involved at a grassroots level. And Hooncorp, you guys, have had a couple of things like Autokhanas over the years. They've developed quite nicely, and you had one in the weekend.
Oh, it was awesome. We had a picturesque day. We couldn't have asked for a better start. The mist in the morning down at Meremere was cool.
Romantic.
Yeah, well, I
Some
wouldn't
would
quite say that, you know. But it was when you get mist in the morning and a still morning, you know that it's going to be a cracking day. And we had 27 drivers turn up, which was down for us. Normally we're in the mid to high 30s. We top it at 40, but yeah, 27. Enough to run an event, and we certainly had a great one. We got through it so quickly, but oh man, the variety of cars was just second to none. And we had defending champions here as well, and honestly had no idea who was going to do it because there was this cheeky little blue Ford hatchback that turned up, and you'd swear black and blue, you know, it's nice, you sit in the corner, then you realise, hang on, it's got a roll cage in it, hang on a minute, now it's got sticky tyres, and you know, I won't say his name, but Sam went really well, you know.
It's always the unassuming, and this is half the reason we love these Autokhana type events, and especially the Drift Park too. It's such a tight course, it's a great equaliser. You know, if you've got a really high horsepower car, but you're on the brakes as much as you're on the gas versus having, you know, what's essentially a grocery getter.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, we genuinely had no idea. You have an idea of which cars are faster. You have an idea of which cars handle better. Yeah. But what does that actually equate to once the stopwatch, you know, obviously is done? It's anyone's guess. And I mean, even to the extent we had some cars that were a bit slidey, you know, they sort of stick it out a bit in the corners, and then you have cars that really bang the racing lines. But that, again, the variety of what was quick and what wasn't, and we only do the one run per layout. So we do 3 different courses, front and backwards, so that's 6 rounds, right? They don't get warm-ups, they don't get practice. It's literally, it's go out there, do it. So that also sort of adds that element of you know, make or break. We don't
excitement.
We don't do drop rounds. You know, we don't take your worst round and say, okay, that was your worst round. We'll trim that one off, and it looks a bit better.
We had one guy spin out, and the second, because we run 2 cars at a time, half track distance apart. So they basically hear in the hound, go and catch him, or he catch her, or whatever the case may be. And we had one car spin out, and so the other guy was harmed in time by that. So we red flagged and then reran that one. I think the guy that spun out had a problem, so it didn't come back out anyway. Yeah. But did get a recorded slow time, and that ruined them for the day pretty much. But the variety was just second to none, and we had 3 defending champs there, and the Integra V8, everyone saw black and blue.
Hang on, we'll back that track, an Integra V8.
Oh, special car.
It's a bit of a Frankenstein of a thing, because, Honda Integra with, I got to try and remember this right, Lexus V8, Nissan Diff, Toyota gearbox. Yeah, it's you couldn't be more, and it's a hill climb special.
So none of that stuff should go together, but somehow it does.
And his name is Michael Jordan, you know, and of course it's his real name, and so of course we go, the Michael Jordan is in the house, you know, and he doesn't just slam dunk. I mean, we thought he was going to be right, and he was right up there. I think he finished 7th, but defending champion and one of the little starlets, I call them Starship Enterprises. Brett Thomas just took it out. The grocery getter got second. The little Ford Festiva, you would never believe that. And then third place was
Festiva. Hang on, what was in the Festiva for it to come second?
Oh no, he told me it was standard.
Right,
Fiesta.
Yeah.
Fiesta.
Oh, that's okay.
Fiesta Focus.
Yeah.
What were they doing? But I got to say, third place was actually young Lennox Buckley, who, like, in that orange Starlet, mate, this kid has got some skills. I've seen him actually do a 1-hour race. Anyway, getting back to Mike, he was phenomenal. He was fast. He was straight. He wasn't sideways. Sounded awesome. Had the best exhaust system of the day. And 7th So that's how fast they were pushing. That's how good the
Sixth,
cars were.
actually, on my notes.
Oh, sixth, was it? Okay, sorry.
Seventh was the little EP Civic of Joshy.
See,
Right.
from what you can tell there is that Nathan is a details guy when it comes to...
No, I've just got the results.
Yeah, he's got it right there.
I was going to say, but if we left it up to Mike, I could have won that, and I wasn't even there. I did notice there was a whole bunch of starlets turned up at one stage. That must be the biggest collection of the best starlets I've seen. Normally, they're gone. They're rot boxes. But there was a massive collection of starlets there.
Yeah, and they even had the front wheel drive one, and that had an electronic issue. So luckily that was a hubby wife sort of arrangement. So they both had a car there. So Michelle's car decided to stop working, so she jumped in hubby's car and Justin's car, and he was more sideways, and she was actually quite damn fast. So.
And he hasn't seen her since, right?
No, he hasn't seen the keys to his car since anyway.
Well, first question then is, when's the next one?
We're working out dates with the promoter at the moment, or the owner of the place at the moment. We had a couple of things we just had to address with him. He's had a change of the track format on the inside as well, and it's an option that's open to us for an extra cost. So once we get the overhead schematic of it, we'll work out what we're doing. At the moment, end of the summer and into winter, his drifting guys are very, very, like all the weekends are pretty much booked for the next 6 to 7 weeks, I believe.
Yep.
And then we'll look at a date and see what we can do. If we can do something in between, obviously, our other racing commitments and that, then that'd be cool. But our speedway seasons and dirt track seasons winding down, so we'll start. We'll hopefully have a date
obviously
soon.
The weather starts to get a bit sort of poo as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not scared of a bit of water, but if it's like torrential rain,
Yeah,
people get a bit miserable.
You break out the jet boats instead.
Yeah, we'll do jet sprints.
Yeah.
But
But it was an excellent day, and we had we had the food there. We had coffee. Our coffee man there for the first time, his first ever event of doing coffee, and it was so cool that he was there. And definitely finished. And the thing about us is, no matter where you come in the race, you end up with a chocolate fish. You win a big one, not a little toy one. And we had some. I'll do a shameless plug to Racer Products, who actually gave us 4 $100 vouchers to give away that people could, not just for the winner. We didn't do it just for the winners. It was the whoever we want for whatever reason we want, and we gave away some really cool prizes and some extra little bits they gave us. But I got to do a shout out to the most unassuming car, though. I mean, we had 2 really unassuming cars. We had the Ute, the old fender bender from Waiuku, double cab crewman Ute.
Yep.
And this guy, Jake Holland, not only just drove it well, he didn't give a rat's bum about going fast, and he didn't come last, and he just throwing the thing around. Who would think a crewman Ute around a little track like that? And young Josh in this Suzuki Fonte with this Mitsubishi Mirage motor and box, front wheel drive early Mirage motor and box in the rear of it, of the Suzuki Fonte, space frame. Oh, it's an absolute Frankenstein. But he was sorting out carburetor issues, so it's the old school motor. And just fantastic day. I don't know. I think we probably should stop because we're going for hours about it. But the Autokhanas are just so cool.
And that's it. And we talk about grassroots and getting involved. Yeah. This is a great way to get involved in something that you're racing yourself more than anything else. But plus you're showing off your car and your skills, and that you're developing as we go along. So Hooncorp's Autokhana. Wait for the next one. We'll tell you when it's going to happen. But other big news in the weekend, of course. Formula One.
Oh, here we go. Now, you're going to do this again. This isn't grassroots. You're jumping from Formula One.
We do like covering everything, and let's face it, everyone's got to start somewhere, so grassroots is where you start. And if you end up in Formula One...
a bit of the hot topic at the moment, too, because
it's just...
pressure point.
I mean, I think we all sort of pretty fairly wrote off Australia. Obviously, our mate Lawson having the issues that he had, and then obviously that ate into his practice time, so he was always going to be on the back foot of Australia. We can write that one off.
Can I just point out, though, there were 2 really fast laps in Melbourne, right? One was Max Verstappen. The other fastest lap at Melbourne over the entire weekend was Liam Lawson in a car he wouldn't get to grips with. And everyone started lambasting Liam. No one actually looked at the fact that he was pretty bloody quick when the car was going good. It's just that the car ain't going good.
Yeah.
And then we move on to the next one in China. And we'll start out by going, Lewis Hamilton, what a great race that was, mate. Oh, you're fantastic in that Ferrari. Look at both Ferraris disqualified.
Well, I think the really impressive thing for that one, I mean, obviously they got disqualified, so it doesn't matter now. But
exactly.
For Leclerc to be able to do the entire race distance with pretty much half a wing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you sort of, did you watch the race
live,
Nick? So he got damaged the first corner. Right. So straight away he's compromised, and all the engineers are scrambling to see if they should come in and replace the wing, which is obviously it's they're doing 2-second pit stops for tyres, so to change a wing is
gonna be
a lot more than that. But so they're trying to scramble to work out, do they carry on or do they fix it? They ended up carrying on, and he was still doing pretty good times. But then you see what happened to Yuki Tsunoda. His front wing just kind of randomly just broke, and he wasn't, he hadn't contacted anybody. There was nothing to really suggest it would break. It just it was fully fine, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, it just started cavitating, and all of a sudden blew itself to bits, and there was nothing they could do. He had no front end grip whatsoever. So bring him in and change it. Had to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so things you mentioned, Yuki Tsunoda. A lot of talk this week about how maybe Liam Lawson should be stood down from the Red Bull team, maybe go back to the Racing Bulls, and maybe Yuki Tsunoda going up. And there's been a massive amount of speculation. Every day you'd open the emails, you'd get online, and suddenly there would be something about, the hammer's going to drop. The word is out. And I saw 3 articles purporting to be from the inside Red Bull, saying that Liam was on his way out, and there's another guy that's already in the wings, and they've shown his photo. Except this morning, Christian Horner comes out, and he says, and I'm going to quote this, "We're going to give Liam a car he can drive." Yeah. So that to me says the team at Red Bull have been working on stuff to try and make the car a little bit more competitive, and they're using poor old Liam as the test bed for it. And the moment he gets to grips with it...
Are they going to give him a car to drive that's a fixed-up Red Bull car, or are they going to put him back into the Racing Bulls car, which apparently he knows how to drive? So I don't quite know how you're going to interpret that.
They'd be foolish to do that so early. I mean, again, Australia had never raced. China had never raced. Japan, he has raced from his time in Super Formula, so he's at least got track familiarity down. And ultimately, I mean, it's if there was ever a time for Liam to sort of prove the doubters wrong, it's going to be Japan. But the problem is, the next race is next week? Not this weekend, but the next weekend.
No. Yeah.
Of course, all the media is going to try and get their clicks in while they can, because they know that if they mention Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, and possibly getting booted, they're going to get all the hate comments and the reactions.
And the thing they're saying that Liam's job is, and this is his job, right, not just drive the car and see a checkered flag, his job is to support Max, and his job is to get into the points. And I'm not taking sides here, I'm just saying these are the facts. And he hasn't done either at the moment. And I know, I agree with you that he hasn't been to Australia before, and he hasn't been to China before. Now he has. He's got that experience. But his job is to support, and you've got to look at the results for Yuki. In Australia, he got points, and did a bloody good job in the sprint race and right through, and finished quite strongly. But then obviously the problems that happened in the main race in the wet, it all went pear-shaped. China, another situation. You're seeing these guys really put their hand up. The Racing Bulls guys are putting their hands up, and Red Bull very quick to respond to that sort of carry-on. However, and like you pointed out, Japan is going to be the first time it's a track that Liam's been to. It's the first time he's got track knowledge, and he has got Racing Bulls knowledge, I believe, as well, of some of the early setups of the car. So between those two things, he should be better. And I think really if they do give him a chance to keep him in beside Max, this is the one where he's going to have no excuses. Pressure's on.
Okay. So basically we agree that Liam should get another run in Japan.
Well, I think the decision's been made.
This will be the make or break.
Yeah.
And what else can you say? I mean, until that race, assuming obviously he doesn't have more mechanical gremlins or some other, it's really hard. It's becoming hard to sort of keep backing him up, because all these haters and all these naysayers, and they've all got they all have the same mindset. They want him out, and they either want Perez or they want Tsunoda or they want Ricciardo. They've all got these fan
none of them
favourites.
though. None of the keyboard warriors have put their hand up and say, "I'll drive."
Yeah, of course.
Back it up with performance, boys. Other Kiwis in action in IndyCar. Scott McLauglin got into geez, that was so funny. Did you see the little bit online? The guy's name is Devin DeFrancesco, and he got into the side of Scott McLaughlin's car, and he was a DNF after that. And there's a bit where, and I'm just paraphrasing this, but Devin started by saying, "Man, we're got to be side by side, because it was a restart, I believe." Yeah. So I watched the video, and sure, it's side by side right up until the line, and all the cars had cleared the line, and all the cars in front of them were line astern, right? So Scotty's ahead of Devin DeFrancesco, and all he does is just pile into his side pod and claiming that it was Scott McLaughlin's fault.
How tall is Scott McLaughlan? I mean, in that particular video of the altercation they had in the pits, Scott looks like he's 9 foot tall. I've walked past Scott McLaughlan. He's shorter than me, but
I think he's just on 6 foot.
Yeah.
So the question then is,
brilliant.
How small is that guy, Devin? I mean, really. SVG was in NASCAR, and he had a horrible time in NASCAR. Apparently, problems with the right front wheel, just not turning in.
Yeah, he said it was the car was numb. He said no matter what changes they did, I don't know how many tyres they tried to to solve the right front issue with. He said the car was a numb setup. It just wasn't something he can get himself into. And all race, and he actually in fact finished a lap down too, which is very un-SVG, 32nd place. But not from the lack of effort from the team. Trackhouse, if you have a look at it, it wasn't the worst. It was their worst result, but I think the next best was 31st. I think after that was in the 18s. I think they had a DNF as well. So, it just wasn't a good day for Trackhouse racing. And sometimes, sometimes it happens at tracks. Yeah, but
the hard thing too is that obviously in the pit stops, every pit stop with SVG, they were trying different things with the setup. Yeah. So like they were trying to get to give him something to work with. And that's always going to be hard when you're racing, but you're also like doing a spot of R&D. Not only are you battling these guys for position, but you're also trying to see, okay, what have the crew done to the car? Is it better? Is it worse? And then they've got to there's a lot of multitasking to do, in your head while you're trying to. And it was an oval too, which obviously there's so many more dynamics.
Just even the position of the car at speed relative to the concrete wall changes how you actually perform at the track. And then when the next thing you're next to is a car that's trying to do this exactly the same sort of speed, it's all physics and aerodynamics.
The one thing we can't do, and I know a lot of people who their certain demographic will be sitting there going, oh, he's being precious and he wants this, he wants that. But Shane Van Gisbergen, give him a go-kart, give him a skateboard, give him a blooming weed eater, he'll make the thing go really, really well. He'll take what he's given and he'll make a really good job of it. So for him, and he's a very optimistic and real person. He's the guy that says, no, I can run with it, mate. Don't worry. Oh, but that car's got 10 degrees toe out. It shouldn't have. It's all right, mate. We can still keep it going. He'll look after his tyres. So for Shane to be burning tyres, he'll take that badly because he's a very good. I mean, we saw that with Supercars. We've seen that with the road courses that he has done. with NASCAR, he's very good on his tyres. So and ovals are a completely different thing. Now this is a second season, going roundies and as well as the.
Is that Shane Van Gisbergen?
That's Shane now saying, mate, look, can I call you back? But yeah, sorry about that. It just goes to show. But yeah, he'll take that away and he'll work and the team will look at all the data that they've done and what they haven't done and from here on and they won't have that problem again at that course anyway. And hopefully, when you think that really the dynamic of NASCAR is you turn left, you keep going, you turn left. It's like I don't realise how finicky those cars can be set up, and the same with McLauglin as well. I mean, he's got it, getting it down to a fine art. Of course, Dixon has done for a long time. Armstrong is right up there, but we're seeing Shane still not come right on those ovals, whereas on the road courses he's head and shoulders.
It's kind of what he's used to.
Yeah.
But like you say, I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen really can shift anything. It could be a T-trolley with wheels on it, and he could probably do it better than anyone else. He did get to run at Western Springs the last couple of seasons, and in fact, the last meeting of Western Springs came up earlier in the season. Shane turned up there in the sprint car and had a really good time, and it was great to see him there. But in the weekend, it was the end of Western Springs after 96 years.
Yeah, I feel like I should take my hat off, and I mean that's quite sincerely because it's a very special time for New Zealand motorsport. We're still circuit guys. We're still reeling from Pukekohe. And I know that Western Springs, 96 years is a heck of a big innings, and I know that people don't want to see it over. I think we've got to be two things about that. Myself personally, my personal thoughts, and I'm not I love Speedway. I love circuit more, but I love Speedway. I think it's fantastic. But it's in a housing area. It's a finite time that it's going. It wasn't in a housing area, but as with councils, they allow it to be. Even I hear Kihiki's got houses around it now, the little track down the south. But then the second thing is that the thing is they've lost one of two Auckland speedways. They haven't lost Speedway and Auckland altogether. Like we've lost Auckland's only circuit with Pookie closing.
Yep.
We've lost one of two. I think the smart people now would go, well, we've lost one of two. Let's get really in behind the one we have got and at least have something.
Yeah.
Because if we lose that too, then you're going to feel like we feel.
Yeah.
You've lost circuit, you've lost Speedway and Auckland altogether.
And that's it. It's about the continuation of open wheel racing. But I've got to make a note about the end of Western Springs. It was a hugely emotional night. We packed the place.
So just for people that don't know what's going on here, you actually have been involved for a hell of a long time.
About nearly 20 years, we've been doing a TV show that turns up on Sky TV. And in fact, this weekend, you'll be able to catch on Sky Sport 5. We've got about, there's 2 shows compressed into one, and that's got about a month's worth of play on Sky. Look at your Sky calendar for details, but make sure you watch it. It's called the Quarter Mile, because the track is essentially a quarter mile as we go around. Now, for years, like 1929 is when it first started. There's been some of the great names. I mean, Frank Satan Brewer, Barry Butterworth, I think, is the guy that really sort of set alight and changed things at Western Springs. A lot of the drivers have gone overseas. We've had a lot of Americans come over. AJ Foyt has raced at Western Springs. Kyle Larson, the top NASCAR guy, he has raced at Western Springs. And, of course, we've got our own greats like Michael Pickens. And I think it was fitting that the last race at Western Springs for 96 years was 96 laps with a pit stop halfway through to put extra fuel and change the tyres. And Michael Pickens took out the 96 lapper because, honestly, he's the greatest of all time in midget racing. Now, a lot of people are going to bag me up and say, well, what about the old days, mate? 10 times New Zealand champ, Michael Pickens. No one else has done that. No one else has done that.
Can't really argue with that sort of numbers too. And,
yeah.
You know, I mean, just talk about the Americans and stuff have come too. I think the thing about it is that they love coming to Western Springs. Like they don't just come over just because it's a bit of fun and they've got a track that's cool. They actually talk really well of Western Springs, and they're almost as cut up of as the rest of our sort of more local community.
Absolutely, Australians that come over. The thing is, like you said, Mike, it's in an urban area. It's the only place in the world that there was a speedway in an urban area, and there are lots of restrictions on it. But when we performed there, it was like a rock concert. The sprint cars were brilliant. The midgets are fantastic. TQs, Kiwi kids. Shane Van Gisbergen started his racing career in a Kiwi kids kart at Western Springs. And look where he is now. It's all the development that comes out of that. So it's sad to lose it. But like you say, we've been under pressure because I've been associated for 20 years. I can tell you, in the 20 years I've been associated with it, every single year we got told by the council, that's it, this is your last year. And the work of the promoters and the supporters of Speedway have managed to eke it out for those extra 20 years. And you never know, there's considerations that it may get another lease of life out there. But whatever the future holds for it, whether it's at this track or it's at the other Speedway track that's available in Auckland that's being revamped to accommodate open wheel racing, I'm going to follow the drivers because, man, the performance they put on was second to none. And if you get the chance, watch it on Sky TV and then ask yourself the question, why would you change that? Why would you change that?
I haven't known a lot about Western Springs Speedway. I've only been a handful of times if I'm lucky, but I heard names in the past, like what really made me sit up and take notes, Donny Shots. Jonathan Allard.
Yeah.
One of our races at Waiuku, Robbie Allen, who's been there for donkey's years. He actually ran at Western Springs for a good few seasons. It was his lifelong dream.
Oh, and I remember him there, and he said, mate, I just want to get on the track with these guys. And he raced with Donny Shots.
Yeah.
And he raced with Steve Kinzer, who is, for many people, the best sprint car driver ever.
So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
You were leading up to Saturday. Last year, last race, last everything, all the emotion of that. How did you prepare for Western Springs? What did you? I mean, I don't know about rituals now, but what did you do that knowing it was the last one? That must have been pretty hard.
Did everything I normally do,
but
then sat down on the couch and had a cry. It's been 20 years. I've loved every moment of it. I've met so many really good people. I've met so many really good friends through motorsport, and particularly at Speedway at Western Springs. It was an emotional moment, and everything was really quiet. It was like that sudden quiet moment before the storm, And we got to the Springs and we sat down and we talked about what we're going to do with the show and how it's going to perform. And I looked out there and I watched the cars come in and load up the pits, and it all came back, the excitement, what we're going to see tonight. And then it was just a fabulous meeting. And like, I don't know, they say 14,000, but I did a quick count when we got them to light up their phones. I'm thinking about 18,000 people turned up, and we packed the hill, and it was just a whole lot of great racing. So thanks to everyone that's been part of Western Springs over the years, and let's see if we can, continue this as we go forward with open wheel racing, because it's the racing that matters. We create history. Don't look back, look forward. And speaking of looking forward, I love leading into this one.
Well said.
The future of racing, if you can't get out there and get involved, you can become a racer. Nathan, you're a sim racer and you're pretty bloody good. And over the weekend, there was an event on that you performed in?
Yeah. Well, we put on basically a race day. So Gran Turismo 7 has something like 750 cars. Jeez. And we decided to pick a few of them and make our own.
What was your criteria for picking them?
Well, they had to be worthy. They had to be able to provide some pretty entertaining racing. Like, obviously, we weren't just going to pick any random yahoos. We've got a few guys who test a few cars and say, well, hey, look, and there are some categories like Super GT. Obviously, Gran Turismo is a Japanese game, so it's pretty easy to find Japanese touring cars in there. They've actually just recently added a 1990s styled F1 car, so it's not any particular 90s F1 car, but it's just a bit of a mashup. It's technology of that era. Naturally aspirated V12, early days of traction control, early days of the semi-automatic transmission. And then we just picked basically a supercar in the form of the Mercedes AMG GTR. Mm-hmm. And we went racing. We set it up basically like a race meet. So they all had their quali sessions in the morning. Then after that, we moved on to the sprint races, which were just 7-lap affairs. And then we moved on to the feature races, which were a bit longer, and there was a bit more of that sort of pit strategy come into play.
All right. So big question. Best car, worst car out of the ones you picked? How good was that Formula 1 car?
I got to drive the car.
Oh, which one were you in?
It was a 1-lap race. It was a bit of a stocking fella. It was a Unimog.
The early
True story.
1960s Mercedes Unimog.
Anyway, I don't think that's what Nick was talking about, but it was the truth. They threw it in for a bit of a laugh, and he gave me a controller. I had no idea it was going to happen. He goes, "Here you go." I'm what? He goes, "You're racing? Are you kidding?" And of course,
that was the lunch break special. That was the lunch break special.
With the Unimog, though, you can go across the infield. It don't matter, right?
Well, I thought so, but I jumped the start. I got penalised for that. There's the thing at the bus stop at
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen. There we go. There's a bus stop there. I thought, well, I'll go straight line because I was so far behind. I got another penalty. I finished like 30 seconds behind the other guys, but completely different conversation.
I think the thing about it is because we only ran the 3 classes.
Yep.
Right. Every car did something unique. So there wasn't really a best car. It was they were all very different. The AMG, that was a road car.
Right.
So road car suspension, road car tires, road car brakes. So you had to drive it like it had a bit of weight, and you sort of had to, Whereas a 90s F1 car, obviously, you could just send it through half the corners and it would grip
stick
up. Yeah, and then you had the Japanese touring cars, which were sort of a Goldilocks. They weren't too fast, they weren't too slow. They could really, they were good race cars,
and they tasted like porridge.
Yeah, something like that. But look, and that's what we try to do with these events is we try to have something for rather than just all the classes being pretty much the same. GT3 cars or thereabouts. We actually try to have a bit of variety so that if you're into your wings and slicks, there's something there for or your high downforce. It might not necessarily be F1, but something for the fast guys, something for the slow guys, and then maybe something a bit oddball. So I think.
And the consensus, it was a mega event. It was absolutely brilliant.
That was absolutely
they all thoroughly
good.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we've got the reception's been phenomenal. We've only done one of these before, so this was the second ever event that we've done. This format, right?
Yeah.
So it was just experimenting. We were sort of trying things, and obviously we'll go back now and sort of see what went well, see what didn't. I think the whole thing was about 5.5 hours over the course of the whole day, and we've just had such phenomenal support. We've got TrackSpot TV coming on now as the official broadcast partner for MEGA Esports.
Yep.
So that's obviously and that's a huge thing in itself.
So how do we get involved in MEGA Esports?
So we're on Facebook, we're on Discord. If you're into gaming and if you're a gamer, you'll know what Discord is. It's very, it's its own little thing. Just look us up and get involved, and we keep posting about all the events and the wins and the hows, and obviously we have the Oz NZ Endurance Series, which is happening at the moment on Assetto Corsa. That's through the year. So there's teams that are competing for the title. Plus, there's a few privateers that just want to do that race or whatever. We try to really do something for everyone because, like you said, Nick, sim racing, it's just so easy to get into.
Yeah.
And it might not necessarily replace the traditional sort of motorsports ladder of your karting and your Formula Fords and if you're that sort of ambitious driver, but it's certainly
it's a great way of getting into it and to find out if you want to go up to the next level.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a great stepping stone, and it's no risk. It's not for the outlay.
That's the big one.
You're going to spend maybe a couple of grand tops to have as good a setup as anyone else that you could take on some pretty accomplished drivers. And then if you like it, if you sort of have the bug, then you can obviously progress from there. And if you don't, well, you can move on to volleyball or whatever.
Wow, online volleyball, that'd be something. I wonder, do you have to wear the suit then if it's online volleyball? Or is that if only other people are watching? That's kind of almost where we come to the end of it. But this weekend, there's a couple of things. Beach Hop. Now, they've got a live car auction that's being done by... there's a car sales company. They're doing a live auction. I can tell you one of the cars, a 71 Challenger, Dodge Challenger, finished in white like the Vanishing Point car. It looks like a real classic car. Underneath, it's a real modern mean machine. It's got an HRT Hellcat underpinnings, everything. Brakes. Actually, the brakes are upgraded from that. It's got the supercharged engine. It's got everything you want. It's a fairly hefty price point. And in fact, in a later episode of the Trackside Lounge, we might talk about what it takes when you're going to look at buying cars, or maybe you want to sell a car. Some things are not always as they appear when it comes to the pricing. There's a guy in the States got stung in the weekend, spent 175 grand US on what he thought was an Eleanor. Turned out it was an Eleanor copy. And not only that, it was a crap copy held together by, I kid you not, zip ties. Ooh. 175 grand. Mind you, the car should have been somewhere close to $500,000. So you think something's gone a bit awry there.
You should have had a bit of a suspicion when he went shopping on Temu, but anyway.
Well, just because we haven't said it so far, I'll stop you there, because I think that's a great nickism right there. We're going to call that a nickism, like Murray Walker with his Murrayisms. I just want to, before we start wrapping up, I want to also mention last weekend on Sunday, Meremere Dirt Track hosted Waiuku Dirt Track for the Interclub Challenge.
Yep.
At Meremere, because we're at the Autokhana, and just like 50 feet away around the other side of the hill, there's Meremere Dirt Track having us getting Waiuku Dirt Track turned out in numbers. And previously they'd run the round at Waiuku. Meremere turned up to Waiuku, and Meremere actually started, they finished that day with a 5-point lead. So Waiuku had to go to Meremere,
get the 5 points
beat
back.
them, and get their 5 points. Well, the good news for Waiuku was that they actually won the race. So the Iceman, Calvin Sharvey, did a cracking job, and some of the other Waiuku cars did, but they didn't do enough. And Meremere actually got the shield off Waiuku. So if you don't know anything about the Waiuku Dirt Track, Meremere Dirt Track, we call it the 3YM, WAI. So it's Waiheke Island have a dirt track, Waiuku have a dirt track, Waihi Beach have a dirt track, and the M is Meremere. And the 3YMs with a sort of 150k circle, that they all 4 tracks usually do a shield called the 3YM Challenge. And since COVID, it's been a thing of the past, and it's something we want to sort of bring back, and hopefully for next season. And we want to be part of it with Hooncorp, and maybe bring you along there as well. Actually do a road show where they go to each individual track for the 3YM, and you turn up with cars, and it's a whole point structure. It's a really, really cool thing. We talked about it as COVID was coming in.
I was going to say, we
had the meeting with the clubs.
We got pretty close to reviving it, and then COVID happened, and obviously it's been put on the back burner, and it just hasn't really cropped back.
So anyway, I don't want to waffle on about it, but it was a great turnout at the dirt track, and the weather was, and I've got to say well done to the Meremere track guys, because they have put on a good racing surface, and
it's a good track. Everyone
went away with a good, considering they're burning sun on dirt, what it's like in the night time at the best of times, and they had a pretty raceable surface. So, and I will point out again, speaking of the Iceman, he actually won the feature as well at the end of it, which was nothing to do with the challenge race. Big day. They were racing till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, that whole grassroots thing where you can turn up and like that car that old Henry turned up in, that station wagon, and he did well. And you can turn up in those sort of vehicles and go racing for $1,000, $2,000, something like that. And as well as you drive the car, is as reliable as the vehicle will be, and those around you. So it was a cracking day.
Rightio, we did ask last week if you've got an event coming up that we would publicise it and approach it for you. So you got a list of those, Mike?
I have a list. To be honest with you, I've got quite a decent list here.
Going to be quick then.
Yeah, well, so Franklin Dirt Karts are racing this Sunday. Franklin Dirt Karts race on a dirt track at Meremere. True story, right beside the drift park there. So the dirt karts are racing. It's the last round of the Rees Tour down in the South Island. Peter Rees, of course, the super stock man. He's put together the Rees Tour where they went to Blenheim, Nelson, Greymouth, Dunedin, Riverside, Cromwell, and they're finishing up in Christchurch this weekend, the 28th and 29th. That's their last round. And a little side event very quickly. It's 9 events in 15 days. And Scotty Lane and the Rocket Racing team there, they've actually got 5 out of 5 podiums in the 5 race meets they've had so far. They have had some weather issues going on there. As you mentioned, Beach Hoppers coming up there, and we've got there's other events as well, but that's pretty much what we've got. And a very quick shout out there, question to you, Nick, from Dean Sharvey.
Hi, Dean.
Which is the Iceman's dad. And Dino said to me, he said, does Nik Brown play music while you guys are doing the recording? Because obviously you're the radio DJ.
No. See, I was in a band once, not because I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be the manager. And they said, here's a list of songs, sing them. And the band had to tune up underneath me because I can't hold a tune, I can't play an instrument, so I tend to stay away from it. I'll play someone else's music.
Oh, and there's one more event coming up this weekend, of course. It's the sim racing.
Yep. So, like I said, OzNZ Series. We're racing at Indianapolis this weekend. Been a lot of preparation for this one. It's been a bit difficult because the way the servers work, it's basically track day rules. So you can show up whenever you want and log practice. Every time I've showed up, it's been raining, or it's been damp, or it's been some level of rain. So if we have a wet race, I'm probably going to win.
All right,
feeling pretty good. But if it's dry, I've just got a bit more dry pace to sort of find because I'll fill it up, 113 litres in the Aston V8, and I'll get out there and I'll get probably 15, 20 laps into like a 40 lap run. It's about 42, 43 laps on a tank. And it'll just start raining, and then I'll have to go and abandon that run, go chuck wets on it, and it's like, oh come on, man! I just want to do a dry stint.
Mate, they're just testing you like they are Liam Lawson. That's it, and it's all being done. It's all being done behind your back by the computers. That's it for this week on the Trackside Lounge. We'll catch you back next time. You know where we are. You know how to get hold of us. It's on this YouTubey thing. Cool. Thanks.